speech of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he actually talked about the democracy that was selflessly fought for by Chief MKO Abiola. We do know that Bola Ahmed Tinubu was part of the Nadeko struggle. He was part of the MK Abiola team that fought for democracy. He was one of those that understudied late Chief MKO Abiola. And at some point, you do know that he had to exit the country in exile when Abacha took over and needed to take off anybody who he felt could raise a voice against his imposition and impunity. But there are some key pointers that I actually want us to look into in his address earlier on today around 7 o'clock. And based on the current circumstances that have been unveiling themselves, we actually expected that beside the inaugural address he gave, which was, just a general, would I say, pointer to what his administration was all about, there are some key things he ought to have mentioned. Number one is the ethnic divide that has become so rife. You recall that a few days ago, El Rufai made a statement that was religiously and ethnically divisive, and nothing happened in that regard. Obasatu made a statement too like that, when he won the speakership position in the House of Representatives in Lagos, and this was something he needed to address, considering the fact that the February 25 election was fraught with serious ethnic divisiveness and ethnic undertone. Do you think it was a deliberate form for the president not to have talked about this?
Yes, thank you. We first president this morning, and I know by this time yesterday, Nigerians were very expectant to hear the first broadcast and the direction the broadcast will go. To me, I felt a little bit disappointed because I was expecting that the president's broadcast.
Hello, Mr. Elvis, hold on. We're not getting your volume out very well. I need to try this. Okay, go ahead, proceed.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, it's better. Yes. Go ahead, please.
Okay. After yesterday, Nigerians were, very expectant to hear the first broadcast from our new president, Bola. And when the broadcast came this morning, somebody like me, I felt a little bit disappointed. The first broadcast was going to touch all the areas that we saw before the election, during the election, and even after that are not too decent before Nigerians, especially the divisiveness that has has become the norm in this nation now. Some of the APC members are acting, like you made mention of former governor of Ministerial El Rufai and the Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly, Honorable Abasa. I was thinking that the president also tell members of his party and Nigeria in general that his government has come in to reunite this nation. There was not going to be anybody that looking in tandem with his unit trying to foster for this nation.
Hello, Mr. Elvis, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The network is actually very poor. You seem to be breaking, but you can go ahead.
Hello, is it better now?
Yes, just continue. Go ahead.
I've checked position. Is it better now?
No, it's still breaking, but you can go ahead. We can make sense of what you're saying.
So I was expecting to talk about the unity. If we are talking about Nigeria must be one, the president wants to talk to his party members. I heard from former governor of Malam Rufai, and even the recent one from the Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly, Honorable Basa. We don't want anybody that will foment trouble, think line to disturb the expected development plans. The government, this present government is, planning for Nigeria. Like he has said, he wants Nigeria poverty to be a thing of the past in Nigeria, but all
right, Mr. Elvis. So let's we do not really have a lot because there's a lot of conversation we need to have this morning. So in one of the key speeches that was made, he said, "Those who cannot endure and accept the pain of defeat in elections do not deserve the joy of victory when it is their turn to triumph." What exactly do you think that particular statement means? In that phrase of his speech. Hello, Mr. Elvis. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello.
I can hear you now.
Yes. So please, can you respond to that? The speech where he said those who cannot.
I didn't get your complaint.
He said those who cannot endure and accept the pain of defeat in elections do not deserve the joy of victory when it is their turn to triumph. So again, what do you think is the meaning of that statement?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that statement because what we are looking at, those that are aggrieved are in the court, and the court has not dispensed the judgment. So I was expecting more friendly statement and languages, regarding that it is normal if you are not with any electoral matter, and the have actually deemed it necessary to go to court and not trouble. So I was expecting the was, commit effort in going to the court, getting trouble, because the court is a much more civilized approach towards redressing issue and not comfortable. To have made that statement that those that are not satisfied will not celebrate, will not have opportunity of celebrating victory or whatever. That statement, I don't like it as well. Because if he's talking of, gathering together under one umbrella nation, we must some wages that they will go to the position and even they will be comfortable with.
Hello, Mr. Elvis. I'm trying to recall you because the connection, to be honest with you, is quite poor. You seem to be breaking. Well, we have the Labour Party presidential candidate. We also have the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate to make addresses as to the Democracy Day and what their interpretation of it is. So, for Atiku, he stated that he said the only collective energy of Nigerians are the only things that can rescue the country from bondage. He noted that the enemies of democracy, who we are up against, are not resting. Hence, Nigeria must do more. He stated that the country is in bondage. So he made this statement via a tweet where he says, but democracy without a corresponding commitment to the principles of fairness and fidelity to the rule of play by stakeholders in conducting elections still leaves the people prostrate to dictatorship tendencies. Do you think there's a truth in what he said?
Yeah, there is something. But the good thing is that even he said that he's aggrieved and have taken the serious part to court. And the court is a different organ of government, and we are built to dispense judgment accordingly. Also, if he says democracy, giving democracy some names that, that it has gotten to the level we were expecting, we all of us have to join hands together to, get to that extent that Nigerians satisfied with whatever we are doing. And what he has just done is also part of it by going to court and not fomenting trouble. So I think we all have to rally around ourselves to make sure that the democracy we have had for 20 years uninterrupted, continue to build on it. We continue to we address accordingly. And one of the best ways to address issue of democracy is by going to the court. And as a result, that is agreed, have to toe that line and let democracy fester.
All right.
And let everyone.
All right, Mr. Elvis, we do have Ohaneze actually asking Peter Obi and Atiku to stop pursuing their cases at the tribunal and support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Okechukwu Izigurozo, the Secretary General of the Ohaneze, said Atiku and Obi should support Tinubu with their ideas. Izigurozo said both former presidential candidates should support Tinubu in the interest of nationalism and patriotism, saying that it is time for us to embrace each other and not contest the elections at the Election Petition Tribunal. Do you think that it's a way of trying to show nationhood? What exactly is the motive of Ohaneze making this statement now?
No. It's a cowardice act for them to pronounce that. I don't like it, and I think Nigerian Democrats will like it. These people are in court. Court is a way of settling issues in democracy. They did not take up arms. So for you to tell them that they should go to court, it means you as that arm of government should be rendered useless.
But they made the statement in place of saying that, okay, let us speak with the president to consider Igbos when giving out key appointments. And it's almost like in return for that, we will solicit that Atiku and Peter Obi should drop their petitions at the election tribunal so that, they can work along with it. Do you think that's basically where that is coming from? It's coming from a more personal interest perspective.
They are not supposed to, palliate the president, the opposition, because they want employment from the president. It is the Easterners, Southeast apart, and they are entitled to be appointed and serve in any government that in this nation. We have code of conduct, and we have aligned and zest along the constitution. If you are saying drop your case because you want to get a favor, you don't seek favor from government. You merit it. Ordinarily, you to that position and you can work accordingly. You will be appointed. I think the reason why they should be the opposition parties to drop the case because they want to be recognized by the government and they want to start submitting names to the government to be appointed into the cabinet. That is not how democracy goes. Democracy,
right.
you have to let the person that is aggrieved get his judgment. Whether he favors him or not, you will know that at least he has done his own part. By the time he's leaving that judgment, after the judgment has given and going, he would have, satisfy his conscience, not somebody now, reminding him, putting it on him that you should drop it because you want to get favor from the government. That's not democracy. We should not begin to trying to get palliative from one side and be using to drop the other side. It's not done in that manner.
All right, so let's look at Peter Obi's presidential statement. Let me not use the word presidential statement, but more like addressing Democracy Day. He said that. In his statement, he said, the nation's democracy is deeply troubled while its destiny remains uncertain and precarious. Peter Obi said, it is regrettable that the country is now in an era where foundational pillars of democracy are undermined by prevalent impunity and pervasive violence and bloodletting. And this statement he made was via his verified Twitter handle yesterday. He said the country lacks selfless leaders committed to national interest, sustainable development, and innovative thinking that offers every Nigerian freedom of choice of abode, protection of lives and property, and other liberties. Do you think this speech, this statement from him, is coming from what Obasa said last week? If you look at that, where he said that there's selfless leadership, and of course there is a lack of innovative thinking, which offers every Nigerian the freedom of choice of abode. Abode means where to live, where to reside, protection of lives and property. We can think about the prevalent insecurity situation across most regions of the country, and other liberties: the right to live, the right to purchase land, the right to invest, the right to own your own business. So do you think this is accountable to the statement that was made by Obasa a few days ago, which is precisely last week?
Yes, obviously, one would have expected that after the election, with all the crisis of ethnicity and religion matter that wanted to truncate that election, that by now the ruling party particularly should have even been using saner languages to placate Nigerians, so that the repetition of what happened in the...
Hello. Okay, so we would try to get Elvis back. The connection seems to be extremely poor. We can't make out anything that he's saying for the moment. While we'll move on to other conversations in the world news, we'll definitely come back to that particular statement made by Peter Obi last night. So there is a controversy surrounding the documents which has displayed that Hadi Sirika lied on national television. And of course, there seems to be no end in sight to the controversy rocking Nigeria Air. The national carrier supposedly unveiled at the twilight of President Muhammadu Buhari's government. The ex-Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, had unveiled the name and logo of Nigeria Air at the Fanborough International Airshow in July 2018 with a promise that operations would begin within 5 months. At the time, Sirika had said the airline would have flights on 81 domestic, regional, and international routes. But 2 months down the line, the federal government put the project on hold, saying it was a tough decision. However, the public kept asking questions on the project, given the publicity and funds spent on it. The ex-minister repeatedly assured Nigerians that the project would kick off at some point disclosing the plan for aircraft which will be used in the fleet. On May 26, 2023, the ministry ordered Sirika's Watch organized a program for the unveiling of Nigeria Air. At the event which held at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, the minister expressed delight that the federal government, of course, had matched its words with action regarding the project. There was a backlash afterwards, and of course, a lot of reactions came up with it, especially over the Ethiopian Airlines plane that was used for the unveiling. We have Mr. Elvis back via the telephone, whereby we hope this time around the connection will be good. Mr. Elvis, can you hear us well? And I should be able to hear you well. Hello?
I can hear you very well.
Yes, the connection was very poor. I really couldn't hear what you were saying at all. It was breaking. So, yes, we're talking about Peter Obi's Democracy Day speech, which was, written via Twitter last night, where he talked about the fact that Nigerians deserve the right to live, deserve the right to go about their businesses. And I'm trying to ask, do you think this is in connection, in response to what Obasa said, which of course President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which he was expected to address this morning, did not? And do you also think that somehow maybe the silence means he is possibly in tandem with that statement that was made?
Yeah, let us not even believe that silence at this moment is in tandem, because I'm still expecting the president in one way and the other to call members of his party. But it's not wrong. Obi is still talking in line with what happened in this 2023 general election, because at this moment we're supposed to see more of healing, more of placating words coming from the ruling parties to galvanize everybody together in this nation as one united entity. Not some of them who are even top members of the party still looking for a way to bring, this divisiveness into Nigeria, which we Nigerians have been condemning. Ethnic, especially these ethnic bad statements that are becoming that some part of Nigerians were not allowed to exercise their civic, especially in Lagos. One would have expected that what the president should have even picked it, and what El-Rufai said should have picked part of those speech, to make broadcast and said his party should be able to give Nigerians the adequate peace and unity for him to succeed in whatever developmental agenda he has for this. This will naturally enhance development. If you look at the Constitution for says that Nigerians can own property and live in any way that they want to live. So it's somewhere some part of this nation, you're reminding them that you are not from here and you cannot own. I think the president should speak on that matter before it gets out of hand, because we are expecting more elections. There are some elections that are going to come up November this year. Supposing the other what transpired in Lagos is borrowed into those three states that are going to have Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo. Well, I think the matter will be spreading. We don't want it escalated more than what we saw in 2023. This general election of 2023.
All right. So he said that Nigerians expressed their unreserved preference for true democracy and fully chose a transparent voting method, even under military rule. However, he lamented that the trust deficit between the leaders and Nigerians have continued to expand. He said, regrettably, we are now in an era where these foundational pillars of democracy are undermined by prevalent impunity and pervasive violence and bloodletting. The trust deficit between the leaders and Nigerians continues to expand. The deficit of trust and efficiency in the last elections demonstrates this malady quite boldly. And he says the challenge of June 12 and a dedicated Democracy Day is to inspire, and also to correct the errors of, the recent elections. Don't you think that it would be poor or wrong for what do you call it? The Ohaneze Igbos to be asking that Atiku and Peter Obi should shelve their contesting of the announcement of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner at the Election Petition Tribunal, regardless of whatever personal interest that is being served, based on this statement that was made?
Yeah, in my opinion, they are wrong to have told Obi and Atiku to drop their matter in the Supreme I think it's not a welcome idea as far as democracy is concerned. These are aggrieved. They said they are not satisfied with the conduct of the election by INEC. They went to court. They did not pick up arms. They are not on the street. They are not occupying anywhere. And the best seek redress in democracy is the judiciary. Remember, it's also an of government that interprets the law and settle disputes. The appropriate quarter to get justice for what they feel they are aggrieved of. So if they're telling them drop your matter and support the government, Ohaneze is playing a role like it's a coward's act.
All right.
Democracy does not encourage that. Democracy is about balances.
All right. Now let's quickly look at Hadi Sirika's situation. Yesterday, via an interview on a particular television medium, precisely Arise TV, the minister literally denied a lot of things, and he said he was shedding more light. Okay. He said that he denied the involvement of the aviation ministry in the unveiling and putting it at the doorstep of Ethiopian Airlines, which has 49% majority shares in the project. So he literally said it was the owners of Nigeria Air, the consortium of the federal government. I don't know if you've been following the story after the backlash when that particular event took place, especially over Ethiopian Airlines, and the ministry had avoided commenting on multiple issues. But via the television interview, Sirika cleared the air and addressed multiple issues. He said that Nigeria had no stake in it, and he also said that it is not the government that was doing the unveiling to start the operations, not at all. It was them who did it, and that he was invited. So how do you say something? Does he forget the statements he made? He talked about the fact that he came up to the press and said, "Thank God, this project has been executed. After a long time, this entire ordeal has come to rest, the unveiling of Nigeria Air. Now you are claiming that it is not Nigeria Air. Nigeria was not part of it. You were invited by Ethiopian Airlines. What exactly is going on? Why do we have a government that keeps lying to the people and think the people do not understand or do not have a sense of their own to reason?"
Esther, it's a big shame what Hadi Sirika is telling Nigerians, because we have seen the enormous money that the logo of Nigeria Airways, Nigeria Airline, about in 1919 in London. Mm-hmm. That money just went unveiling of logo. Then we have seen now that the money was 160-something billion that was used to repair an aircraft. Continue to just fly an airline, to just repaint it and put Nigeria Nigeria on it and fly it into this nation to come and bamboozle Nigerian that this is Nigeria Airline. I have somebody that have got it to that level of, as a minister, come to a national television yesterday and begin to tell Nigerians, address Nigerians as if Nigerians are fools. If you are talking about 49% of the airline, whatever.
Remember, Mr. Elvis, that during the unveiling that was organized, if you look at the documents, it was organized by the Ministry of Aviation.
Yes.
So how come he's saying he was invited by Ethiopian Airlines, that they were the ones who were doing the unveiling?
I mean, those are the lies we are talking about now. We are not comfortable with what he's telling Nigerians. If a state like Akwa Ibom can run an airline, in Nigeria and begin to even increase the fleet. So a whole country, Nigeria, cannot run an airline. They cannot buy an aircraft. That you are going to rent an airline, going to charter an airline from Ethiopia and fly it into this nation. What in Nigerians? Does he think Nigerians don't know what is going on? You see, Esther, what I'm not comfortable with is that EFCC have not come out to do their job. The president should give EFCC an order to look into this matter of this matter. Because by now, somebody should be in EFCC net and be answering questions.
All right, Mr. Elvis.
We need more.
I will need to cut you there. We will continue this conversation. We'll continue this conversation in our other bulletins. So we need to round off now because we have an outbreak coming up soon. But I do appreciate you coming on the World News at 12. All right. To wrap up the World News at 12, here again are the top stories that you heard. President Tinubu discloses democracy best form of government invested by man. Atiku discloses Nigerian bondage enemies not resting. Peter Obi discloses Nigeria's democracy in deep trouble, destiny uncertain. And there is a fresh controversy as documents show Hadi Sirika lied on live television. My name is Esther Mwachuku. Good afternoon.